So our last guest for International Sculpture Day is Andy Kennedy. Andy is a long-term board member of Pacific Northwest Sculptors, and he was honestly the instigator of the theme for this event. So I'm going to let Andy talk a little bit about your observations about International Sculpture Day. This has traditionally been inclusive of the community event where we have had a lot of hands-on activities. This year has been different for a number of reasons, but tell us about your observations of what has happened. Did you have any expectations of how this event would evolve?
Yes, thank you. It's been a curious mix of ideas and ideals, and the unexpected follow-through that's resulted from that. Really, I would say I had hopes rather than expectations, and my hope was that I could remain centered in the inspiration for what the possibilities were with the theme and the connection to the York sculpture, and being open to other people's contribution and the sorts of ups and downs that come with collaboration, where you don't know what other people are going to bring to the table. And so my central hope was that I would be able to hold on to some of the key ideas around the unrecognized theme.
Why don't you tell us about how the unrecognized theme came about?
The recent anonymous installation of a portrait of York on Mount Tabor was a nexus of several really powerful phenomena that revolved around a sculpture. And everything just kind of like crystallized and made sense with the installation of that piece on Mount Tabor, replacing Harvey Scott. But York, on the other hand, represented so much of the possibility for change in our society. The recognition of the contribution of African heritage people here in the Americas, and how the installation of York was sort of a beacon of hope that there can be a different way to tell the American story. There can be a way that we can all come together and honor each other respectfully in our entirety, and that it was done by anonymous artists who took themselves out of the picture, who don't want credit, and then put York literally on a pedestal instead. The convergence of those things just set off several light bulbs in my head, and I wanted Pacific Northwest Sculpture people to really pay attention to the possibility, progressive change that can happen through sculpture.
This was a very different type of event for our group. What do you think the impact can be on our group and on our community longer term?
Is a challenge to us in a few ways. It's really exposing how we're stuck, but it also shows us a few ways forward. By reaching out to people outside of our group for influence and advice on how we can change. That's been happening. It's also a model for mentorship. It also represents possible partnerships with groups like the Oregon Society of Artists and the International Sculpture people.
This event has been a learning experience for us as well. That's not unusual, that often the instructor learns more than the student. I want to look at how this event may enhance our outreach and our inreach. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, outreach and inreach. I like that. Well, for me, it all revolves around the members, the Pacific Northwest Sculpture members, understanding who they are and what they want. I'm hoping that the membership reveals itself more in the future, that we allow ourselves to be more vulnerable, allow ourselves to get outside of our presupposed identities and grow into something more diverse.
Andy, you've described the group before as being a resource-rich organization. Do you want to expand on that a little?
Well, there's something unique about sculptors. They wear many hats. They can work with many materials, many tools. And our group itself, we have a huge variety of different mediums that people have become expert in. So there's that way to look at how diverse our resource base is. It seems to strangely lend itself to a willingness to collaborate, a willingness to graciously accept other people into the group and find out what they're thinking about, and freely offer information back to them. It's a very curious phenomenon. There's something about sculptors that we can go off into our studios and create these microcosms of beauty and truth. We can create these worlds that tell stories and stories inside of stories. When you talk about resource to draw on, there's so much there. There's so much potential.
Do you have one closing remark, just that summarizes either your optimism or anything else you want to end on? Gratitude
for you and the other participants. I just finished watching Claudia's video, and boy, I'm really glad that she's part of this. Her enthusiasm and experience, it just, that fills me with hope. And Chayo's project, oh my gosh, we owe Chayo and the Helensview people so much thanks for their contribution to this project. So yeah, the gratitude is always the last word. And